Reyna, CEO, founder of Reyna Fine Men's Clothing. Your friends call you Nico. So, Nico, how did you get into this business?
Yeah, it was back in 2017. I was in the financial services industry and just had an opportunity to kind of start this business of mine. Started out with more of me as a client, and I kind of looked at, hey, how can I better this process? And I looked at it and I said, okay, I can do this little by little. And by the time I know it, I've been looking at different manufacturers, finding out a little bit more about the business itself, the logistics of it. And I essentially took the plunge and started this company back in 2017.
So being in financial services, dressing well, it's important.
Yes.
Right. You're trying to manage people's money, get them to invest. And there's a lot of like, trust, understand that goes into that. You got to look good.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things I learned from that firm was how do you want to present to your clients, almost like the nonverbal communication. And when I looked at it, at the time, I was a father of one at the time. And I looked at, well, how do I want to dress, or how do I want my boys when they get older to dress? And, the reality of it, we all judge.
Right.
Nice ways, bad ways. But in this world, the majority of it is nice way. But there is judging. And when I looked at it, there is a way to be respectable and how you conduct yourself. And the best way to do that is a nice garment.
Right. So they say you have only a few seconds to make a good impression.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so when choosing a suit, right, and we'll really get into this, what are some of the characteristics that you advise men looking to really upgrade their style when making that first impressions? What are some of the major aspects to think about when choosing a garment?
Yeah, the first thing is, what do you have in your wardrobe currently? That's one of the big things, because a lot of times when you ask a potential client that, you would say, get their heads going, where say, hey, I don't know what I have in my wardrobe. I really don't know. Then it kind of get them thinking a little bit more like, well, I got this, but I don't even like it. So it's a great conversation when I have with my clients and potential clients when we're just chatting. And a lot of times they look at it and they kind of discover themselves. And that's one of the wonderful parts of our consultations, where you just look at it and say, wow, 40 plus year old gentleman never had the opportunity to be asked, what do I want to present myself? And they have a wonderful career. Many of them have a wonderful family. But when you look at a professional sense, they've never been asked that question. And that's what we kind of tackle in that consultation. Right. But yeah, that's the big characteristics. And then, man, the floodgates open. They're like a kid in a candy shop. Like, oh man, I didn't realize I like blue. I didn't realize I could like lavender with the blue shirt, and this type of blue on a suit. I didn't realize is a whole different type of blue what I'm used to.
Right. So the world is very casual today.
Yeah.
Right. We live in a casual society, and we've been hearing the term business casual for 20 years. Yeah. Do you see a trend in men kind of coming back to more of a tailored look and trying to implement suits into their day to day?
Yeah, it comes down to dignity. I think that will never go away in a man's repertoire. Having dignity for oneself, and man, through mass production over many decades ago, we had your Macy's, we had your Dillard's, we had your Men's Warehouse, Joseph A. Bank. Many of those were as retail stores where they worried more about or focused more on the quantity side. So everyone had this, cookie cutter type garment, and it took away almost the dignity of a gentleman.
Right.
Where it's like, okay, you have everything the same, but the idea of having that dignity will never go away. So I think trends will happen, but the ultimate perspective of a suit, what it does to a gentleman, it almost gives you worth.
Okay.
And it means totally different for different types of gentlemen. I had, especially here in Texas, there are many gentlemen that will never wear a two-piece suit, but they have a Western style, very thick wool garment. They would never call it a suit. It's just a jacket to them, but it's essentially a sport coat. I was raised up, my dad always tucked his shirt in. I think those are pieces of dignity that a man needs to have, and I think that will never go away. You have pockets of laziness. You have small opportunities, unfortunate opportunities where people just don't care, especially men, just don't care about the wardrobe. But something inside of us, whether we meet a wonderful lady or whether we have a wonderful time at an interview or we get a great job, you look at those things like, oh man, I need to have that dignity because someone else is investing their money, their time into me, whether they're hiring me, whether they're courting me. You look at those things and you're like, okay, I want to be better. And I think that's what elevates a man's dignity
Right.
by just a simple garment.
Well, let's get into some of the specifics. What makes Reyna Clothier different? So when a customer like myself, I'm actually one of your customers, comes to you, manufacturing has gone overseas. So not everybody is built like someone in Thailand or someone in Mexico, etc. I'm a big guy, so I really need specifics in terms of how my suits are cut. What's the difference that I can expect or a customer could expect between coming to you and maybe going to Dillard's or going to a retail store?
Yeah. Great question. So I think the biggest thing that we can offer to our clients is multiple fittings. We're not going to get it right the first time. So we have a first fitting. Sometimes we came and get it right on the second time. So there might be another fitting session. All that is included in the price. There's no extra price or anything. But ultimately, once we get that measurement and that great fit down, it's easy sailing after that. But
when I first started buying suits, I learned very quickly that don't expect it to fit perfect because the human body has a lot of moving parts.
Correct.
And so it's going to take an average, for me, 2 to 3 to 4 fittings to make sure that it's fit right. But you also have to wear it for a while to let the suit kind of settle in.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially the types of garments that we provide. If you know what a half canvas chest essentially or half canvas part of the suit inside here, it can be a half canvas or full canvas. That actually has a specific fabric where over time it kind of molds into your chest essentially. So whether you have a very narrow chest, a very wide chest, that really kind of takes in consideration the time of wearing it. And it's almost like if you talk to a cowboy, how he resoles his boots, where he would never want to change the boots. He just needs to resole them because it just molded to his foot and he just feels great. And he'll take it to a cobbler and they'll resole it. Very similar to a suit. Over the more time you use it, and you won't get it as dirty as much as a shoe or a boot. So it works even wonderful. But yeah, overall, that's the main thing, the big difference that we can offer.
So I'd like to bring up a subject that I'm pretty passionate about, patterns. I love all kinds of patterns, and I'm a sucker for a pinstripe suit. But can you give everybody some insight into what to consider when looking at different patterns for suits? There's a time and place for everything. Kind of give just a little bit of advice in regards to that.
Yeah, so after we ask that question, what you have in your wardrobe, we discover what they have. And a lot of times we always like to kind of start from the beginning where, do you have your blue, your navy, your gray, or your charcoal? Those are kind of the top 3 that you would use. I'm almost like I would call myself a rule breaker sometimes, because when it comes down to if you feel comfortable in this garment, wear it. I have many times with my clients, they don't have those top 3 fabric colors, but they're just enamored by a striped suit. I'm like, get it. If that makes you feel great, that's the beauty as you learn more, especially, unfortunately, many decades ago, they would have your certain rules. And yes, it's great to abide by those, but again, there's so much craziness in the world. I don't think you have any problems getting a striped suit that you truly feel great with. And like I said, it comes down to that dignity. If that gives you more dignity, give you more excitement, why wouldn't you want that? And then if you want, yes, we can kind of go from finish to start, if you will. We definitely would want to entertain a charcoal or your dark gray or your blue. But yeah, I mean, those so many different patterns. That's what's the beauty of having a custom-made garment. I mean, there's at least 400 to 500 different fabrics that you can choose from. So it is the wide range of possibilities. I would even call it careless if you don't explore your fun excitement like a striped suit.
So there are rules, but rules are meant to be broken. But I always say know your audience, right? So know who you're in front of, know who you're trying to present to, and trying to make an impact on, and keep all those things relevant. Now let's broach the subject of fabrics, right? There's different seasons, unless you live here in Texas, then there's one. But there's wool, there's linen. Give us a little bit of insight into how you pick or how you recommend different fabrics. Do you base it based off the time of year, the activity, etc.?
Yeah, so I would say with the technology now that they have in the mills, it is quite fascinating how they are making these blends and they're milling these different types of weaves where they can have almost like a stretch feel to the wool, but it's 100% wool. There's no other different or synthetic fiber in that wool other than wool. So with that being said, you can have a wool which is typically not that breathable. So for summer, you may want to have like a cotton fabric garment or a linen, which is a little bit more breathable, but it has pros and cons. With the cotton and especially linen, it wrinkles a little bit more, so you have to care for it a little bit more. But now, oh my goodness, they have, we have wool cashmere fabric available, or even just a stretchable wool where it's just so breathable and it's so light, where if you can customize and take off the lining inside, so the extra lining, and on top of a very fine wool fabric where it's almost very thin and how it drapes beautifully, you can have that all season. So there's many fabrics that you can utilize throughout the whole season. But there's some that I wouldn't use from the summer to the winter. You can use from the winter into the summer. For instance, your wool blend, so wool cashmere. I use that many times in the summer, especially here in Texas. If I have no lining, so it feels so great.
Right.
You can even take off the padding on the shoulders, all those customization options where it feels like just an overcoat, but it has the professionalism written all over it with the lapel and everything. So
Let's talk about physique, all the different kinds of physiques out there. And it's important to understand how you're built as a customer and how you approach that as a professional clothier. Someone with broader shoulders is going to have a different kind of cut, different type of shoulder, right? Different type of lapel, depending on how tall or how not so tall you might be. Get into that a little bit. What kind of things that you look for.
So I'll use an example for the lapels. So there's different lapels that we have, whether it goes all the way out to the shoulders, or you can be as thin as possible. Me personally, I don't like a thin lapel, but we can have that depending on their physique. If they have a very narrow shoulder or front canvas, if you will, we want something kind of a narrow, so it kind of complements their physique or their body, essentially. But when we have individuals where they have the beauty of Texas, there's barbecue and sweet tea. So a lot of our clients, we have our fun dad bellies, I would call it, and we take that into consideration, and it's a great compliment because, to the contrary, we can make the garment where it kind of covers you and it doesn't look too big on the shoulders, but it covers you perfectly on the belly area. So there's ways to complement your body, whether you think you are ideal physique or not. So I think that's the beauty of a custom garment, where we can complement your physique. And ultimately, again, I use this word a lot, it brings that dignity. You feel just exciting, like, wow, like I'm happy with what I got on. I feel great.
It's not just a product, it's an emotion.
Absolutely. Yeah, man. And it's just something that really fascinated me from the first few years of starting it. That was not in my business plan, of the emotion when a great gentleman, whether it's a doctor, whether it's a financial advisor, and you see the great career, and I'm meeting them at their home or office, and they are unaware of the great possibilities of a great jacket or a great suit. And then when I experienced it from the beginning, I'm like, wow, it's a great partnership. And overall, to the point where I discuss a little bit more, where it comes down to, how do you feel in this garment? How do you feel, whether it's a jacket, whether it's a full-on three-piece suit or as casual as a Western with a Western hem, sleeves, and with paddings, all those different things, it comes down to having that joy of having what you want on.
Right. Let's talk accessories, because in my opinion, nothing makes or breaks a suit like the accessories, the right shoes, the watch, the pocket square, etc. You can make it or you can break it. Why don't you give us a little bit of insight into kind of what you think about accessories?
Yeah, I don't like to be flamboyant too much on the accessories. If you have a pocket square, that's almost number one. You can customize your garment where you don't have the chest pocket, but I always recommend my clients to have it because it gives you another avenue of bringing out your personality. And it can be as subtle as possible with your, if you want to have a white pocket square, or if you want to flamboyant as possible, paisley and is purple or pink. But it's your personality that you can choose. So that's the first one. You can do pin lapels. That's great too if you are part of an organization, if you have a association that you're part of and you want to promote. That's a great way of doing it. I have some clients that have, if they're part of a church or part of a professional group, you can buy it. Or heck, I've seen it where they have sports teams that they're into and they buy it online where it's a lapel pin and they put it on. Again, all that kind of expressing your personality in a professional setting.
Gotcha.
So lapel pin, pocket square, definitely watch. I think we underestimate the dignity of a man, and it comes so easily of buying it. You can buy a $20, $30 watch. You can buy $2,000, $3,000 watch, wherever you may be. But that concept of having that, again, it makes you feel different, makes you feel complete. But those are top three that I would definitely utilize. So.
Okay. So in closing, Nico, how does a customer get a hold of you?
Yeah. So they can go on our website, reynaclothier.com, book an appointment. And you can definitely reach on the top social media sites that we are active every day.
Okay. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Glad to be here. Appreciate it.